Now, we surely must do all that we can to minimize the adverse effect of the personnel proposals. But as long as the statutory budget caps remain in place, we do not have the option of simply rejecting the compensation proposals. Under the statutory budget caps, we would then have to make alternative cuts.
Retired Navy Admiral John Harvey recently said that we are sending the wrong signal to the force that is serving today, the one that fought 2 wars in the last decade, and the force we are dependent upon to re-enlist tomorrow. We're telling them they just cost us too much, that they constitute a ticking time bomb, and that their sacrifice is eating us alive. We are telling them that we are looking for a way out of fulfilling our commitments to them. This is not the right signal to send those who volunteered to serve in time of war. Because of misguided fiscal priorities, we are now being forced to make false choices between paying our troops and their families what they deserve and giving them the training and capabilities required to accomplish their mission and return home safely to their loved ones. This is an irresponsible and reckless choice. If we spent what I think was necessary on national security, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in today.
There seemed to be somewhat of a disconnect, that there were comparisons made between civilian personnel and the sacrifices that our men and women make every day. Well, when you're married to someone in the military and you've got to move around, you can't have the same career as someone who's on the civilian side. When you're missing those weekends, those holidays, it is not the same. And so you cannot make those comparisons, and we cannot lose sight that the 1% of this population, the men and women in uniform that go out and defend the rest of us, that the sacrifices they made are very different. So what I would like to make sure that we don't lose sight of that as a nation, and that we actually hopefully can get this Congress to the place where we're taking on the big picture hard questions that need to be taken on so that we don't diminish the best military in the world. When we add up the FY14, F15 pay caps and the proposed BAH pay reductions, the reductions in commissary savings, and the new TRICARE fee structure, the Military Officers Association has given us an estimate that an E5's family of 4 would experience a loss of about $5,000 in purchasing power annually, thinking about their overall compensation package as opposed to just pay or one area.
The past 12 years of unprecedented demands and sacrifices highlight how radically different military services conditions are from civilian life. These are the things that many budget analysts and think tanks don't understand. The times the all-volunteer force has been jeopardized have been due to budget-driven cutbacks in the military compensation packages that gave insufficient weight to the extraordinary demands and sacrifices inherent in a service career. Yet today we hear that Congress must slow the growth. They state the personnel costs have risen above 40% more than growth in the private sector since 2000 and are squeezing out dollars for training and equipment. We believe that pitting pay and benefits against readiness is a false choice. And it is important to put the growth since 2000 in context. The fact is that between 2000 and 2011, personnel and healthcare costs experienced an average 7.8% rate of growth. But that cost was essential to keep the previous commitments and avoid retention and reenlistment issues, and from breaking this all-volunteer force. However, between 2011 and 2014, personnel cost growth has not just slowed, it has declined an average of minus 1.5% per year, according to OMB historical tables. The growth has slowed. In fact, it's negative at this point. So these piecemeal budget reductions are doubly inappropriate since we have a congressional commission that will be offering even broader reform proposals next year. America will remain the greatest power only if it continues to fill its reciprocal obligation to the only weapon system that has never let our country down. Our extraordinary, dedicated, top quality volunteer men and women who served our country and the families who stand behind them.
If you could very briefly indicate, if you are able to say which of the ones that are in the budget proposal are the worst or the most problematical from your perspective.
Sir, in a real sense, these structural changes that we're talking about are a reduction in compensation, earned benefits. And to prioritize them prior to what we believe the Congress's intent was, the commission who's going to look at all of this, is preemptive. And we can continue to piecemeal year on year benefits, compensation for retirees, service members, survivors, and pretty soon you've created a volunteer force that's no longer viable. So at this point, I support the commission and a true vetting of their recommendations before we prioritize anything. And in a real sense, I believe waiting the year is very important to the men and women who serve to keep the faith with them.